Hi, it's Leo, and in today's video we're going to be comparing the Samsung Galaxy A17 to last year's model, the A16. We're going to be comparing the design, performance, cameras and battery life to help you decide which phone is best for you. So the Galaxy A17 released in August 2025 for around £160 depending on the RAM and storage configuration, and it's available in 3 different colours: black, silver and this blue colour, which I think's the coolest. So moving over to the Galaxy A16, which released over a year ago in October 2024 for a similar £160, but I picked this up about a month ago for only £90, almost half price, which is a pretty good deal. In terms of colours, the A16 came in this black, white, light green and gold. So both these phones are very similar in terms of overall design and build quality. Being part of Samsung's budget A series lineup, they're both nearly entirely constructed from plastic, with plastic edges and back. In the hand, both devices feel very similar, with the A17 being a couple of grams lighter and 0.4mm thinner, but this isn't something you'll notice in the hand. Moving over to the left side of both these devices, they both have a dual SIM card slot which can either take 2 SIM cards or 1 SIM card and a micro SD card. And the right side of both the devices are also identical, with a volume rocker and power button which doubles up as a fingerprint reader, and from my testing they both perform identically. Now moving to the bottom of the devices, they both have a single bottom firing speaker which sounds pretty average. At higher volumes it can sound distorted. Boxing it, taking a closer look at its design, testing out the performance, the cameras and the battery life. So if you were looking to pick this, and it is very easy to accidentally cover up when gaming or watching media, and from my testing both these speakers sound identical. Moving along, they both have the same USB-C port for charging and data transfer, both supporting the same 25 watt charging speeds that should take the battery from 0 to 100% in about an hour and a half. Unfortunately, neither of these phones comes with a headphone jack. That feature was removed after the A15. Both phones come with IP54 splash resistance, so they should survive some time in the rain, which is pretty useful where I live in the UK. It is also worth mentioning that the A17 has Gorilla Glass Victus and the A16 does not, so the A17 should survive an extra drop or two. Anyway, so in terms of design, the only real difference between these phones is on the back with the camera bump. On the A16 the 3 cameras are individually separated, whereas in the 17 they're all housed in one module. Personally, in my opinion, I actually prefer the design of the A16. I think it looks more interesting. But let me know in the comments section below which design you prefer. So before we carry on with the video, if you are enjoying, be sure to drop us a like and consider subscribing. We're on the road to 13,000 subscribers, which is absolutely amazing. Anyway, let's go on with the video. Moving around to the front of both these devices, as far as I'm aware they both come with the exact same screen, but that's not a bad thing. This is a 1080p AMOLED 90Hz display with a peak brightness of 800 nits, and for the price this is a very nice display. It's bright enough for reasonable outdoor visibility, and the 90Hz helps it feel smooth when scrolling and gaming, and it obviously comes with all the benefits of AMOLED: inky blacks, vibrant colours and instant pixel response time. I mean, the only real downside with both these displays is the slightly outdated looking camera notch and large bezels. Now moving on to the cameras, they both have pretty much the same camera systems, but with one major difference. So on the back they both have 3 identical sensors: a 50 megapixel main shooter, a 5 megapixel ultra wide and a 2 megapixel macro camera. Now even though these are identical sensors, there is one big difference. The main shooter on the A17 actually comes with optical image stabilization, whereas the A16 does not. The benefit of optical image stabilization is that photos shot on the A17 are less likely to have unwanted motion blur. It can also improve the night mode because longer exposures are less likely to become blurred, and it should make video look smoother and more stabilized, which is always a positive. So the 50 megapixel main shooters take some fairly decent photos in good lighting conditions. The images are sharp and have a good amount of detail and dynamic range, and they look very Samsung with maybe a touch too much sharpening. But when the sun goes down in low light conditions, these sensors don't perform the best. This is probably due to the small sensor size when compared to the flagship models. This means in challenging lighting conditions the images can look grainy, smeary and lack detail. Now here's a comparison of some photos taken with the main sensor on both these phones, and as you can see they look pretty much identical. Moving over to the 5 megapixel ultra-wide cameras. Now these are identical between these two phones. They produce some okay looking images but with some distortion around the edges. In my opinion, I'm just happy to have the flexibility of an ultra-wide. Here are some example photos taken with this lens. Let me know what you think in the comments section below. And the final camera on the back of these phones is a 2 megapixel fixed focus macro lens. And as I said in my full review of both these phones, which you can find on my channel, I really feel that Samsung just added this sensor because it was the cheapest camera they could get their hands on. And by adding it, this phone would appear more premium because it has 3 cameras on the back. But in reality this camera is completely pointless. The images look really bad. It's almost impossible to focus because you actually have to move the camera backwards and forwards to achieve focus, as it's a fixed focus lens. And even when you do manage to take a photo in good lighting condition that's in focus, the results nearly always look really bad. Wait. Here are some of the best photos I managed to take with the macro lenses on both these phones. Now both these phones can shoot video at a maximum resolution of 1080p, but as you can see the A17's video is better, and this is down to it having optical image stabilization. The video from the A16 just looks shaky and low end in comparison. Turning the devices around, they both come with the same 13 megapixel selfie cameras that can shoot video at 1080p, and as you can see these cameras can produce some fairly acceptable results. There's a good amount of detail and dynamic range, and the skin tones look good. I mean, that's all you can ask for from a front-facing camera. Now moving on to the performance of both these phones. Now this is actually quite confusing. It all depends on what version of the phone you get. So both these phones come with anywhere from 4GB to 8GB of RAM, and different versions of these phones come with different processors, but there really hasn't been much change between the generations. What I mean by this is if you get the 4G variant of either the A17 or A16, these both come with the exact same processor, the MediaTek Helio G99. This is a fairly competent 8-core entry-level chip, but it has been around for a couple of years. On the other hand, if you get the 5G version of either the A17 or A16, this comes with the Exynos 1330, which is also an 8-core chip, but performs about 10% faster than the G99 and is slightly more power efficient. In day-to-day usage, I've not really noticed much of a difference in terms of the performance. My A16 is the 4G version that comes with the Helio G99, whereas my A17 is the 5G version with the Exynos 1330. And as you can see, not a huge difference. They both trade blows, and neither of them feel slow in day-to-day activities. And multitasking on both these phones is pretty good. Even though my A16 is only the 4GB version and my A17 is the 6GB version, I didn't notice a massive difference in terms of multitasking. When it comes to gaming, both perform very well. I started off by testing out Minecraft, which ran perfectly on both devices. I then jumped into Asphalt Legends, which ran okay, a few stutters here and there, but generally pretty good. And finally some Call of Duty Mobile, which ran perfectly on both devices, very minimal stutter. So in the games that I tested, the performance between both these devices was very similar, and it would be even more similar if I was testing a 5G version versus a 5G version, or a 4G version versus a 4G version, because then they would have the same chipset. I then decided to run GeekBench 6 on both these devices, and surprisingly, the A17 with its Exynos 1330 performed 20% better in single core with a score of 976, and about 10% better in multi-core with a score of 2229. Now focusing on battery life, they both come with the exact same 5000 mAh battery, which provides a similar 7 to 8 hours of battery life on both devices, and they both have the same 25 watt maximum charging speeds, which can take the battery from 0 to 100% in about an hour and a half. So finally, I just want to touch on software support. So obviously the A17 is the newer device and comes out of the box with more up-to-date software, Android 15 and One UI 7, but I've already updated it to Android 16 and One UI 8. But on the other hand, my A16 is still stuck on Android 15 and One UI 7. It should receive updates for Android 16 and One UI 8 soon. From release, both phones are expected to have 4 years of Android updates, as well as 5 years of security updates. So this means the A16 should have the latest version of Android until 2028, whereas the A17 should have the latest version of Android until 2029. Anyway, that's going to wrap this video up. Let me know in the comments section below which phone you think is the better deal. So in my opinion, they're both very similar phones, and the only meaningful upgrade I can see is the optical image stabilization. So in my opinion, I'd probably go with the A16 because I got it for like £90, whereas I ended up paying about £150 for the A17. Definitely not worth the extra money. So yeah, if you have enjoyed, be sure to drop us a like and consider subscribing. We're on the road to 13,000 subscribers, which is absolutely amazing, and I'll see everyone in my next video.